I've got some really interesting trade rumors to break down today here on the Raiders Wire. And we're diving into a rumor that's been floating around from CBS, linking Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Jamal Dean to the Las Vegas Raiders, the Silver and Black. Now, if you want to check out the full article, it's titled something like NFL Summer Trade Proposals, Big Game Deals for 2025. But my style during the offseason is pretty straightforward. If something grabs my attention, I want to talk about it. I'm not here for clickbait or rumors that don't have any legs. I'll admit up front, this trade might not be the most likely to happen. But when I first started doing this show, let me remind you, every channel and every YouTuber starts with 0 subscribers. And I used to look at what CBS, ESPN, Fox Sports, and others were saying and break down their ideas, adding my own Raiders-focused thoughts. That's what you're about to get today. So let's start with why a Jamal Dean trade to the Raiders could actually make sense. By the time you finish watching this, you're probably going to be thinking one of two things. Either, yeah, I can absolutely see this happening, or no, that's not really the player I'm looking for. When you first see the trade, rumors and cut rumors swirling around Tampa Bay, that's the first reason why this should catch your attention a little bit. Because Dean has been linked to trade and cut rumors all off-season long. Now, I'm not going to pretend I check every single move Tampa Bay makes every day. But my job here is to follow the whole National Football League. And Dean has been one of those players who keeps popping up as someone they might move on from, either by cutting him or trading him. I'd almost compare him to someone like Dylan Parham. Not that they're trying to move on from Parham necessarily, but you could at least imagine a scenario where the team says, all right, this new regime wants to go in a different direction. If Tampa Bay cuts him or trades him, they save about $12.9 million on the salary cap. They'll take some dead money hit in the process, but for the Raiders, that opens up an opportunity. If Tampa Bay cuts him, that obviously makes things easier for Las Vegas, but honestly, I'd be surprised if Tampa Bay actually cuts him outright. If the Raiders want to get him, they'll almost certainly have to make a trade. CBS put it this way: Dean's 6-year run with Tampa Bay includes a Super Bowl ring and a big money contract extension, but he's been frequently mentioned as a potential cut or trade candidate due to a $15 million cap hit in 2025, most of which the Buccaneers could clear off their books by trading him away. So if you're Tampa Bay and you're sitting there thinking, I want to get this guy off my payroll, but you know he's a solid player, the only real reason you'd move on from a guy like that is if you have a brand new regime or you're trying to get younger and rebuild. But Tampa Bay doesn't really have a new regime. They just extended both their head coach and general manager. So the reason they might want to move on from Dean is that they drafted some younger players to replace him. That's exactly what they did last year. If you were Jamal Dean and you saw what Tampa Bay did in the 2024 draft, you'd probably be thinking, oh, they gave a big contract to me. But they went out and drafted Notre Dame quarterback Benjamin Morrison in the 2nd round. Pick number 53. I've talked about Morrison a ton. He was one of my favorite targets for the Raiders at pick 37. But Tampa Bay got him later because he fell a bit due to medical concerns. Still, Morrison is a reliable player. Tampa Bay also drafted Jacob Parrish, a cornerback from Kansas State. Now, I'll be honest, I think Parrish is probably more of a nickel corner in the NFL. But he did play outside corner in college as well, and although he's undersized, sometimes these smaller corners end up playing way bigger than their size would suggest. So when you look at Tampa Bay's secondary and their defense as a whole, they have a lot of solid young depth. If you believe in your coaching staff, maybe you decide to cut ties with a player like Dean because it's easy to move on from his contract, and you're focused on the future. Maybe Jacob Parrish and Benjamin Morrison represent the future of that secondary. It's not a crazy idea at all. But the number one reason I think the Raiders could be involved in this trade is the connection with John Spytek and Tom Brady. Spytek has been part of the Tampa Bay organization for a long time and played a major role in the decision to draft Dean back in the 2019 NFL Draft. He was with the team from 2019 through 2024, a period when the Buccaneers did a lot of winning. Dean was also teammates with Tom Brady during those 3 seasons, including the Super Bowl win. So you have a coaching connection and a legacy connection with Brady and Spytek, who has now been linked to the Raiders. That kind of relationship could make this trade more plausible. Given everything we've seen from the Raiders organization this offseason, it's hard to look at a deal like this and say no chance this happens in the NFL. There's always a chance. So here's what I want to know. Should the Raiders trade for Jamal Dean? Drop a comment below. Type trade if you're all in, or pass if you're not interested. I'll give you my take a little later in the video, but I don't want to influence you right now. Moving on to another reason why this trade could happen. If Jamal Dean is 100% healthy, he would probably be the best cornerback on the Raiders roster this upcoming season. I'm not sure about the future, but if Dean is fully healthy, he's a solid cover corner. Of course, if Jacorian Bennett takes a big step forward in his sophomore year like he did going from his rookie year to year 2, Bennett could be better than Dean. That's definitely possible. But Dean's injury history is a concern. In 6 years in the league, he's missed 18 games and has never played a full 16-game season. The most he's played is 15 games. His Pro Football Focus grade was lowest in 2023, a 68.3 overall. Looking at his last 2 seasons, they're probably the worst of his career, with just 7 pass breakups and 1 interception last year, and he missed almost 10 games in that span. Still, I love corners who can cover, and Dean is one of those guys. Tall, lanky, and good in coverage when healthy. Last season, he gave up a quarterback rating of 91.2 when targeted, the second highest of his career. That's only the second time he's given up a rating over 90. He was targeted a lot, but that's partially because Tampa Bay's offense scored a lot of points, so opponents were often throwing to try to catch up. The final big reason this trade could happen is Dean's contract. It's extremely manageable for both Tampa Bay and the Raiders if they want to take it on. He has 2 years left, with 0 guaranteed money. That 0 guaranteed is huge. It gives Tampa Bay flexibility to move on if they want, and it allows the Raiders to view this as almost a 1-year prove-it deal. If Dean was on the open market, he might be worth around $12.5 million for 1 season. But value in free agency drops later in the year. Compared to the craziness of the March free agency period, if the Raiders traded for him, they'd be paying about $12.5 million this season and $15.8 million next year, but with 0 guaranteed money. So if Dean doesn't perform in 2025, the Raiders can cut him in 2026 and move on or try to trade him, like Tampa Bay is trying to do now. Coming up next, I'll share some trade ideas I have, including one that might make you chuckle because it involves a trade I've never suggested before. We're actually running a fantasy football league on Raiders Report, and we're closing in on picking a winner for a 12-team league, so it's a busy time. But first, I want to break down what Tampa Bay might need in return for Dean and what kind of deals could work for both sides. So now let's talk about some trade ideas I've been thinking about when it comes to Jamal Dean and the Raiders. One of the first things I did was ask an AI what a potential trade between the Raiders and Buccaneers might look like. The AI didn't exactly nail what I was hoping for, but it did spit out a late-round draft pick, something in the range of a 5th rounder. That actually makes some sense because when teams trade players who have injury histories but still offer value, those mid to late-round picks often become the currency. So let's say the Raiders give up a 5th-round pick and get Jamal Dean in return now. That's a trade I could see happening if both teams are willing to take a bit of a gamble. Next up, what does Tampa Bay actually need? I've been very transparent about this. Tampa Bay's roster is one of the more complete in the NFL. Both offensively and defensively, they have depth and they have solid starters. So finding a position of need isn't easy. That said, few people I reached out to told me the biggest gap for Tampa Bay right now is an interior linebacker. So if the Raiders wanted to sweeten the deal a bit, they could offer a 6th-round pick plus maybe a player like Tommy Eichenberg to help fill that gap. That would make the trade a little more balanced from Tampa Bay's perspective. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A surprising buzz is stirring in the NFL world as star wide receiver DAVANTE Adams recently opened up about his departure from the Las Vegas Raiders. Admitting he regrets the move every single day, the revelation has sparked a flurry of speculation among fans and analysts alike, igniting talk of a potential blockbuster return to the Raiders or at least a major shift in his career trajectory. Adams, who made a name for himself as one of the league's most reliable and dynamic receivers, left the Raiders under circumstances that were largely seen as controversial at the time. Now, in an unexpected confession, he's acknowledged that walking away might have been a misstep, one he reflects on with daily regret. The star's candidness about his feelings is unusual in a sport where players often stay tight-lipped about contract decisions or personal doubts, making this admission all the more compelling. The NFL community is abuzz with questions. Could this be the beginning of a reunion? Will the Raiders make a move to bring back one of their most electrifying offensive weapons? Or is Adams hinting at a broader shift, perhaps seeking new opportunities that can rekindle the excitement and success he experienced before? While nothing is confirmed, insiders suggest that Adams' openness might be a strategic play to signal his interest in revisiting his past tenure, potentially paving the way for talks with Raiders management. This rumor gains even more traction when considering the Raiders' current defensive struggles and their ongoing search for star power to elevate the team. Adams' combination of skill, experience, and chemistry with the Raiders system could be a perfect fit, fueling speculation that both parties might benefit from a reunion. Yet, contract negotiations and the business side of the league always complicate these stories, leaving fans to wonder if this possibility will ever materialize or remain just an intriguing whisper in NFL circles. What's clear is that DAVANTE Adams' admission has injected fresh energy into off-season discussions and fan debates. His honesty about regretting his departure challenges the usual polished narratives and opens the door to a host of scenarios that could shake up the NFL landscape. Whether it leads to a dramatic comeback or simply stirs more questions about his future, this revelation ensures that Adams remains at the center of attention and the rumor mill for weeks to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.